All right, boom. What's up? Let me get this thing going. How we doing? Listen, if you're live, let me know where you're tuning in from. What's up? What's up? Happy Sunday. I was gonna say Monday, but listen, when you live a life unlimited, you'll know what day it is. I always say that. What's going on, everybody? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. Listen, they asked me to do the daily inspiration, so I'm excited to be on here and I have some amazing things to share. And actually, before I even get into this, what's up? What's up? Where's everybody from? Let me look at the chat. Before I get into this, I love the commercials. I don't know how many people actually love these commercials, but they are like Lion Gate Hollywood style commercials. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. The footage that we have. And I remember when I was talking with Darren about this because he said Mr. Bugs wants to use his people in the commercials. So it's amazing. But listen, let your groups know we're live. Make sure they tune into the Zoom. And I'm excited for today. This is going to be awesome. And yeah, I want to jump on here and talk about the topic for today. And I remember I was just speaking with my guy, Robert. He's actually here and staying in my place from Finland. And last night we were up, doing some calls, getting some work in. And he asked me, he said, Jason, what are you going to talk about, on the call tomorrow? And I said, that's a good question. But no, I had a plan, everybody. Listen, I said, listen, I'm going to talk about persistence because right now in the stage that we're in, what's up, Nora? How you doing? Hungry on the line. What's up? Listen, right now, the stage that we're in business, we're in a phase right before an explosion. And I remember I was reading a good book by a guy named Robert Russell, and it talks about faith. And it says that success happens after a series of explosions. All right. And if anybody was a scientist or anybody did good in science class, then you know how certain things like grenades work, or you know how a car moves forward. And it says a car moves forward through a series of explosions that happen in the engine. And I look at what we're doing right now and all these events that we have, all the momentum, all the growth-ons, these are a series of explosions. The CEO circle, the CEO corner, all these different things that we can tap into. So I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about some inspiration. All right. So if you're ready to get inspired, I guess, to go out there and do something, just put I am in the chat. All right. So listen, what I want to talk about today was persistence. And the reason why I wanted to share this, because like I said, I believe this is the phase that we're all in, because right before the breakthrough, you seem like you're going to break down. All right. So I don't know how many people have been there, but you're going through the process. You're going through what we call the MMAs, the money making activities. And I've realized this because the past 7 years that I've been in this industry, I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs, I've seen the goods, I've seen the bads, I've seen the left side, the right side, the train track, right? And I realized this in the beginning and through the process, that right before you see the result, you're about to break down. It seems like all hell's going to break loose right before you get to that destination. For some of you, it may be a new rank. For some of you, it may be sapphire, emerald, ruby, diamond, whatever it may be. Some of you, it may be just getting your 10 customers. It may be building your 25 customers wide in your business, or bringing in new partners, whatever that next phase is for you. And, when I think about persistence, I remember I was talking with the team and I was doing a mindset call maybe a few days ago. I do one probably every day, so I don't remember exactly which one this was. But we were talking about a concept that really helped me with business. And it really helped me with understanding the process when it comes to persistence. All right, now listen, before I get into this, I always love looking up definitions. I don't know who else does this, but it's crazy. We always use words and we have no idea what they mean. Like the simplest words. We don't, I learned this in business. We don't even take the time to look up what words mean. And if you look up what simple words mean, you're going to find all your answers in the words that you're using. And right before this, while I was watching the Hollywood commercials, right before this, I was looking up the definition of the word persistence. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever done this. And me and Robert were talking yesterday about that chapter in Think and Grow Rich and what it really represents. And I'm going to read this for you guys because this is going to make sense when it comes to the ability to keep going. All right. I remember there was a mentor of ours. He said, and this guy, he actually was a triathlete, and he used to do the races where, and anybody knows about being a triathlete, you do the swimming, the running, the biking, all at the same time. You do it for maybe like 5 or 6 hours at a time. And I remember he was actually top of the company, and we asked him, we said, hey, what is one quality or one skill that you can connect to your success that you embody? And I remember he said, one of the qualities that I have is the ability to sustain high exertions of energy for a long period of time. And he said that came from his background with being an athlete or being a triathlete, because if you're a triathlete, that means you got to run, you got to swim, you got to bike. And anybody knows how hard it is to swim? All right. So you gotta use your, excuse me, your full body with swimming. You got to use your legs with running. Then you got to use your legs with biking. And then you got to finish the race. So he said that process of him going through those long exertions of high energy is what helped him get to the top of the company. And I've noticed that with anybody that's really winning, they have the ability and the mindset of persistence. So let me read off the definition. All right. This call is not going to be long. I have another meeting to do after this. I'm sure you guys do. So I'm not going to be long-winded. Trust me. But this is going to be good. And I looked up the definition. All right. Make sure you write this down. Or if you want to go to Google, you Google it as well. All right. I got it on my phone. And the definition of persistence, this is one of the definitions. It says firm or obstinate, continuous in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. All right, I'm going to repeat that. Does that make sense? Just let me know if this is making sense in the chat. It says firm or obstinate. And now I forgot to look up what the word obstinate actually means. But I know what firm means, right? Firm means it's hard to break. It's hard to bend. It's something that is stable, something that has a stake in the ground, an anchor in it. All right, so that's really what I think about when I think about something that's firm. I think about a tree, and not just the outside view of the tree, but the roots, because what makes a tree strong is not about how tall it is, but how deep the roots are. And so it says firm or obstinate, continuous in a course of action. This is the key word, action. A course of action. Now, when I think about a course of action, meaning a certain direction. Anybody's ever ran on a course or raced or drived on a course, meaning that you only have one direction to go? It says in a course of action, meaning a certain direction of action. It's the difference between the laser and the flashlight. You've all heard this before. The flashlight, and matter of fact, I was sharing this on the call the other day, because we used to say that the flashlight and the laser, they have the same bulb, but they have a different focus. And I remember looking at a flashlight one day and looking at a laser, and the flashlight bulb is this big and the laser bulb is this big, but the laser has more focus. Even though it has a smaller bulb, it still has more power because it has more focus. So that's the same thing as having a course of action. And it says in spite of. Anybody know what in spite of means? Regardless. Listen, you all are going through some challenges right now. Listen, put me in the chat if you're going through something. Put I am. Shout, some of you gonna hit the Holy Ghost. I'm going through problems. Listen, put I am in the chat, or I'm going through challenges. Listen, I want you all to understand this. And this is what helped me get through a lot of challenges, because most people believe that their challenges are tailored to them, but they don't understand if you're going to go to a certain level of success, everybody that's been in your shoes had the same challenges, or someone out there has the same problems. So that's why it says in spite of difficulty or opposition. So I remember when I was reading this story, actually, and this was a story that really shifted for me. And I shared this on one of the mindset calls, because this is something that really helped me with the process. It helped me with understanding what persistence really means. And I remember I was reading it, Think and Grow Rich. It says, persistence to the man is what carbon is to steel, meaning that you can't really have one without the other. It's like oxygen, H2O. You got to have the H, you got to have the 2, you got to have the O. You can't take it apart. And I remember I was reading this story one day. I forget where I was reading it, and I forget where I heard it, some guru out there. And they were talking about the story about the Chinese bamboo tree. Now, some of you may have heard this before, but every time that I hear it, every time that I share it, and I don't share things with people on calls for you guys, I share for me. Anybody ever realize that? Like when you're speaking in front of people, you're like, man, I'm actually talking to me, And I was sharing this on one of the mindset calls. Excuse me, I got this little bug. Anybody know about the bug? Not Mr. Bugs, but the little throat bug. But we're still going, right? Persistence, right? But I was sharing this on the call, and it resonated with me so dramatically. All right, I'm gonna talk, and I want you all to look at yourself like the Chinese bamboo tree. And you can do your research on this, because it's actually crazy how this thing really works. And it talks about, again, excuse me, I got the bug, not the bugs. But it talks about how the Chinese bamboo tree is one of the strongest materials in the world. When it fully grows, it's one of the strongest materials in the world. It's one of the most durable materials out there. In China, they use it to build homes. They use it to do some of the hardest labor activities, especially back in ancient China. Before there was machinery, before they got into the metal age and all this stuff, the bamboo, if you look at all the structures of buildings and how they constructed everything, it was built together with bamboo, especially the Chinese bamboo tree. Now, with that being said, it's also one of the fastest growing materials out there. So when it sprouts at the ground, it grows over a foot a day once it sprouts at the ground. And I think it continues to grow until somebody chops it down, something like that. But there was a story about a guy who went to China. Now, I want you all to look at yourself as the seed, not the person, the seed. Man, you can look at yourself as a person as well. Because the person that was going to China, now he's from America, but he went to China to spend some time there. And he heard about this infamous Chinese bamboo tree. So he said, hey, I want to have some seeds so I can take back to America so I can grow my own Chinese bamboo tree. So what he did was this: he got back home to America and he cleared a plot of ground. All right. So you need a certain amount of space to grow this tree, because when it grows up and it grows wide. So it has, and there's multiple trees that grow within it. So he cleared a plot of land. So this guy literally had a circle of dirt in the middle of his ground. I think it was in his front yard too. He had a circle of dirt in the middle of the ground. Now, every single morning at 9 a.m., he would go out there while the neighbors are going to work, everybody's driving past, the school buses are going. He would go outside and he would water that patch of dirt. All right, does this make sense? He will water the patch of dirt. Now, he had a big old patch of dirt and he will water it every single day. 1 month goes by, he's still watering that patch of dirt, 9 a.m. every single day. But nothing is sprouted. 2 months go by, he's still watering the patch of dirt. Now, you all, if you ever were a florist or you planted flowers, you know flowers don't take that long to sprout, right? Like you'll see something after a month or a month and a half. You'll see something. But he kept on watering it, but there was no result. Now, it wasn't just about him watering it and not seeing a result. Every single morning, the kids that went to the bus stop, they saw this man out there watering the patch of ground. The parents that were driving to work, they saw this guy watering this patch of ground every single day, not every other day, every single day. And eventually 3 months goes by, 4 months goes by. He's still out there every single day at 9 a.m. watering this patch of dirt, but there's no result. So this is what starts to happen. He starts to become a talk of the town. The neighbors start saying, hey, you guys see this guy? He's always out there watering the ground. Now, just imagine, all right, you see somebody watering, they cleared a patch of dirt. Now, mind you, you didn't understand what they put in the ground. This is why I was telling the team the other day, I said, listen, if God wanted your people to see or your family to see your vision, he would have given it to them. They didn't understand the seed that he put in the ground. So everybody was talking about him. They said, hey, you guys seen this guy who's watering this patch of dirt? What is he doing? Why is he always out there every single day? What does he have underneath it? They were like, I don't know. And imagine, month after month, you see this guy doing it for a year, you think he's crazy. So guess what happens? Year number 2 goes by. Year number 3 goes by. Every single day at 9 a.m., he's watering the patch of dirt. He becomes the talk of the town, the talk of the neighborhood. He gets on the news. He's known as the guy that waters dirt at 9 a.m. with no result. Now, what will most people do in that scenario? They're putting in the work. They're putting in the work. They don't see any results. Their family's talking about them. Their neighbors are talking about them. Their mom says you're crazy. Their dad says you're in one of those things. What are you doing? You're always on calls. No results. Why aren't you ever at family functions? We never see you. You don't have any Lamborghinis yet. What are you doing? Are you in one of those things? They set you up. They got you in one of those things. They got you too. Anybody ever been through that? And you know the crazy part about it, even though you know you have something good and you know what you put in the ground, you still start to doubt it. Just because you don't see the results and other people don't see the results. But this is the moral of the story. First off, the guy that was watering the dirt, he understood what type of seed he had. Question for you. Do you know what type of seed you have? Now I'm going to give you this example, all right? Because based upon the seed that you have, meaning the vision or the goal, whatever it is, based upon that seed or that goal will determine the time it takes and the amount of energy and the length of persistence you need to see result. It's like they always say, based upon the size of your goal is like the size of a trunk of a tree. If you have one of those California red trees, those big old trees, they take hundreds of years to grow. Hundreds of years. But if you got a little skinny tree, it may pop out the ground next week. But this is the thing. It's easy to chop down a skinny tree. It's challenging to chop down a wide trunk. So there's pros and cons to the process. But this is the story. First off, the guy understood what type of seed he had because he knew where he got it from. A lot of you are part of this business and you're listening to these people that have earned 6 figures, no income claims, but you're listening to people that have earned 6 figures, 7 figers, 8 figures. I remember I was listening to Mr. Bugs, I think it was one of his older audios, where he was talking about, and I think he was at the John Maxwell event or convention, and he asked the crowd this question. He said, how many of you know the definition of faith? Everybody said, me, 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 me. He said, what's the definition of faith? He said, faith is the ability to believe in what you can't see yet, right? Both faith and fear have the same definition. Faith is the ability to believe and see what you can't physically see. He said, so that's the definition of faith. He said, but let me ask you all a question. Same thing for you all. He said, don't you see people in this industry earning millions of dollars? Don't you see people in the industry traveling and trading? Don't you see people part of the group that are developing time and financial freedom, left and right, popping out of nowhere, having residual income? Don't you see that? You see it, right? He said, so you actually don't need faith, because faith is the ability to see what's not yet there, but you got it in front of you. He said, the only thing you need is belief. So the guy went to China, he saw all the bamboo trees, so he didn't need the faith. He just needed belief that it could work for him back home. So his belief is the reason why he kept on watering the tree, not for months, for years. Imagine you see your next door neighbor every single day outside watering a patch of dirt for 3 years. You'll think he's crazy. What's wrong with this guy? What is he sniffing every morning? What is he drinking every morning, right? What's going on? What does he have? What does he do? Did his wife leave him, or what's going on? You see this guy every morning, you would think he's crazy. Why? Because you don't see what he sees. You don't know the seed he planted. So first off, you got to know what seed you planted. Some of you aren't seeing results yet. That doesn't mean you're not getting results. Listen, I was reading a book. It's called U Squared. It's by Price. You guys got to get it. By Price Pritchett. And he said this, like, listen to what I just said. Some of you aren't seeing results, but it doesn't mean you're not getting results. He said the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Maybe write that down. The absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Just because you don't see the results on the surface doesn't mean something ain't happening underneath. Makes sense? Thank God made dirt dirty instead of clear. So we can't see the process. We got to have faith, right? So this guy's out there watering it. Year number 2 goes by. Year number 3 goes by. Year number 4 goes by. Year number 5 goes by. And if you guys know anything about the Chinese bamboo tree, it takes 5 to 5.5 years. All right, this is the thing. 5 to 5.5 years of water, sunlight, water, sunlight, water, sunlight, clearing the grounds, getting the weeds away from it, water, sunlight, making sure the birds don't poop on it or something doesn't grow on it, water, sunlight, water, sunlight. I look at the action like water. I look at the sunlight like belief. If you're growing a plant, it takes water and sun. Question, what is your water and sun? What is your action and what is your belief? Does that make sense? Because even when you put the thing in the dirt, if you got plants at home, you still got to make sure that they're adjusted to the sunlight. And you still got to do the work, which is watering it. So for 5 years, water, sunlight, no result, no physical result. Remember, the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So just because you can't see it happen yet, I was just, actually, you know what's crazy? The Hollywood commercial, Mr. Buck shared this on the commercial. And he talked about that. He talked about how the old you is doing the work for the new you. So just because you can't see the results, matter of fact, you know what's crazy? I was telling Robert this yesterday. I said, Robert, in your position, you're not supposed to see results. I said, this you is not supposed to see the results. The new you is. So most people are trying to see the results with the old them. No, you do the work with the old you, then you see the results with the new you. So this guy was watering the ground 5 years. Listen, some of you are like, Jason, where are you going with this story? I want you to really think. You see somebody watering the ground for 5 years. What are you going to say? What's your mindset? What type of belief do you have to water something where you see no results for 5 years every single day? Think about that. So he's watering it. He's on the news. They're saying this guy that waters the dirt. News broadcasters are going to his home. They're there at 8:55 because he's going to come out at 9 o'clock. But what they didn't understand was what he put in the ground. They didn't understand what type of seed he planted. Some of you are right now trying to convince the people that are around you why your vision is going to work versus working on your vision. I'll say it again. Some of you right now are trying to convince the people around you of why. Imagine if he was trying to tell the news broadcasters why this thing's going to work, he would have forgot to water the plant. But he kept watering it. Stop trying to convince the people around you why your vision is going to work and work on your vision. He kept watering it. News broadcasters, people around the town, they kept on coming around. The neighbors would stand outside. Wait, he's on his way. Hey, there he is, right on time. They would time the man. But he kept watering it every single day. And like I said, what the people didn't understand was the process of his seed. You see, they all had American flowers. All right, they all had homegrown plants. They didn't have any foreign ideas. They didn't have any foreign plants. Right now, if you're in this industry, compared to 96% of the world, you have what's called a foreign business, meaning that foreign just means it doesn't make sense to what the masses accepts. If have you guys ever thought about a foreign car in America is actually a regular car in another country? But the reason why we call it a foreign car is because the masses don't possess it. Anything that's foreign is what means little production of, meaning that people don't have a lot of. That's all that means. It doesn't mean bad. It just means that the masses don't possess it. So right now, you have a foreign vision. How many people right now are waking up? I remember I was talking to somebody and they said, Jason, how do you deal with competition? I said, how do I deal with competition? Yeah, how do you deal with competition? I said, well, let's go to Monday at 9 a.m. I said, I don't have any competition. They said, why? I said, because all my competition is sitting in traffic at 9 in the morning. How you gonna compete? Right? Competition? No, I don't have any. Listen, you don't have any competition. Why? Because they get off at 5. How you gonna compete? I don't have any competition. My competition is not waking up, reading a book or trying to get a new idea or writing down notes or going over their schedule or planning something for a launch or for a bit. My competition is not doing that. My competition is trying to figure out how they're going to escape their boss to go to the bathroom a little bit more. Competition? No, you have a foreign idea. What can compete with something foreign? What can compete? Nothing. So you brought a foreign idea back home. You went to China, AKA the event. Then you come back. Now, some of you live in China, maybe you go to America, right? But you went to China, which is pretty much like going to the Vision event, or pretty much like going to Accelerate. You went to China where they're speaking Chinese, then you come back to American, and then you try to talk in Chinese to Americans, and they say you're crazy. But in reality, that's exactly how a dominion of people communicate. But just because they're not used to it, they think you're crazy. I remember there was a quote that really helped me. It said, all geniuses are dead. Write this down. All geniuses are dead. Because when they're alive, Normal people call them crazy. All geniuses are dead. Why? Because when they're alive, they're not geniuses, they're actually crazy until they die. Then people really see the results. So this guy was watering the ground, watering the ground, watering the ground. No physical result. Remember, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Water in the ground. Water in the ground. He has a foreign plant in a normal environment, and it's only normal to normal people. Water in the ground. Water in the ground. And this is what happened. 5 years later, he saw one little sprout. 5 years later. Now, what the neighbors didn't understand, again, they didn't know what he planted. So they're thinking if you see one little sprout, oh, he's going to grow something. But what they didn't see was after 5 years of watering that tree, the bamboo tree grew a foot a day. And it's the fastest growing material in the world. And it's one of the strongest materials in the world. So what does that mean? Listen, understand your process. If you want to have a fast growing or a strong business or a strong foundation, you got to plant the seeds. You got to lay the groundwork. I was just saying this yesterday on the call. I said, if you look back at places like ancient Rome, they got buildings that have been standing for 1,000 years, like since Jesus Christ was walking, right? So 2,000 years, they got coliseums. You can go to Rome today, and they still, or Greece, or parts of Italy outside of Rome, and they still have these magnificent coliseums. Some of them have fallen, but a lot of them still stand. And then you go to Miami or you go to Florida, and there's buildings, new skyscrapers falling down. Why? Because the difference is not in the size of the building. The difference is in the foundation. Back then, they built structures because they didn't know. And first off, it was hard to move the materials. They didn't have the ease and machinery to move the materials. So they said, hey, if we put this big stone right here, it's going to be here for 3,000 years. You know that, right? So we got to make sure we lay this thing perfectly. They built things to last. They had a foundation mentality. They had what's called a 100-year plan. I remember I was listening to a guy, and he's a part of this organization where the only way you get into this organization, you got to have 10 million or more net worth, and they'll let you in, and there's billionaires and all this stuff. It's like they got all these type of groups. But there's this guy who said, hey, man, when I joined this group, these billionaires were talking about, tax programs and what they're investing into and all these things. And he said, but the most striking thing that they told me, or they asked me, he said, what is your 100-year plan? And he said, I never heard anybody share that because most people don't think beyond their death. Most people don't think beyond their current process if they're building something that's going to last. So I want you all to understand what the process really means, what you're really building, what the foundation really takes. And if you don't believe me, research that story about the Chinese bamboo. Some of y'all just need to study bamboo trees. Listen, I'm telling you, I was talking with someone, I said, listen, the best personal growth tool is nature. Study nature. God wasn't drunk when he made the earth. There's everything's in alignment, the universal law. If you want to know how something works, study nature. So listen, hopefully this was valuable for you all. Listen, if this brought some value to you, just put value in the chat. Hopefully, I gotta see some value. Let me know some quotes. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Love that. Listen, with this being said, I'm gonna cut this call to a close. You know what? I'm on great time actually, because I've been on here for 30 minutes. Wow. I don't think I ever did a call since I was like 19 for 30 minutes. But listen, I wanted to share this because I knew it was going to be short. I knew it was going to be impactful because you all need to listen. Actually, Mr. Bug shared this on the commercial. He said his biggest challenge was he was measuring his weaknesses up against someone else's strengths. I want you all to understand what your process is. I want you all to understand what you're measuring. Understand what seeds you plant in the ground. Ask yourself, man, what have I asked for? What have I asked for? Like I heard somebody say, Don't ask for the $1 million, ask for the millionaire responsibilities. What type of seed have I planted in here? Because whatever type of seed you planted, there's a process that comes with it. There's a process that comes with any idea that you have. So you got to be prepared for the process. And hopefully this call added value to you all. What I want you to do is this: if you're watching this live or you got group chats, drop some nuggets that you all took away from this in your group chats. Let me know how this personally helped you. Watch this replay 100 times. Watch all the replays from all the diamonds and all the leaders that are going to be here. There's going to be amazing lineups for the daily inspiration throughout the weeks to come. And we got a lot of major things happening. We have the event coming up in March. Make sure you're there. Accelerate. Actually, Accelerate was my first unofficial event back in May, I believe, of 2021 in Mazatlan. And that was a game changer. I mean, Mr. Bugs was on stage for like 3 hours, and he said, "I'll be up here for 20 minutes." And then he spoke for 3 hours, but it was the best 3 hours I ever recorded. So you are going to get so much value from being in attendance and going to the foreign land. Go to China, get you some seeds, bring them back home. Listen, the neighbors are not supposed to understand what vision you possess. Only you are. So don't focus. I'll end it off with this. Don't focus on trying to explain or convince people what your vision is. Focus on building your vision. And when you do that, watch what happens over a period of time and understand this: the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Listen, hopefully this added value to you. Love you all. See you at the top. It's way too crowded at the bottom.
Looking to start a business from home? The business from home. We are the fastest growing home-based business company in the world that's helping ordinary people just like you and I to get out of debt, generate additional income streams in their life, and creating extraordinary success stories globally. We've got the right systems in place, world-class servant leadership, wealthy compensation plan, and the utmost support you need to start local and go global. To get started, simply text us on WhatsApp, #ReadyToBoom on +356 99 46 3303. Again, text #ReadyToBoom on WhatsApp on the number +356 99 46 3303 right now. Let's get ready to boom. Are you trying to find the best deals online when it comes to your travels? I know, it could be a nightmare. Let me save you some time and of course some money. I Go For Less, the one and only platform you need to go and find the best deals online, from flights, hotels, weeks, cruises, and more. This is a completely free travel booking platform where you can save up to 70% on your travels. Cool! Here's what you've got to do. Step 1. Go to bit.ly/travel savings code page. You'll find the link in the description below. Step 2. Find and enter the code you see on the page to create your free account. Step 3. Start saving. Anytime, anywhere. When it is time for you to book your next trip. Pretty simple, right? And did I tell you it is free? And it's also forever to use and to keep. Again, go on bit.ly/travel savings code page, use the code you'll find on the page, and start enjoying your savings.